Yellow. This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by mail-do-jail.com, something that rhymes with com. A series of disconnected New Hampshire Liberty newses. First, for those of you in Keene, you may be aware of the seasoned citizen lady who often calls the local radio show. She spends a lot of her time ranting against those, quote, free people, unquote. Well, a couple weeks ago she called in and announced that she had just voted for one of those, quote, free people, unquote. Nick Ryder. He was running for a council seat, pretty much a pure libertarian, and lo and behold, the Free Staters' most vocal call-in opponent apparently isn't such an opponent after all. Good for Nick, and good for her. If Nick keeps running, someday it will be him in the saddle. Then Free Staters can protest Nick instead of Mayor Pregent. Speaking of Keene, Don, an apparent organizer for the illegal homeless shelter there, has signed on to FreeKeene.com's forum with this message. Quote, "There is so much that can be done without the local or state government's involvement. 100 Nights Cold Weather Shelter is step one in getting control back to the community to help ourselves. Call to volunteer anytime. 603-313-3229. Call 24/7 or stop by any night after 5 p.m. or, for that matter, 5 a.m. Unquote. Again, that's Don, one of the men organizing a homeless shelter in violation of Keene City Code. Oh, I can't break away from the Keene news. There's actually another piece of Keene news here. A new, apparently relatively big military recruitment center is going up on West Street. This new government expense and activity is from liberty activists in Keene to look into starting up activities near the facility. James from Louisiana, presumably a veteran inbound to New Hampshire, writes, quote, "When I get to Keene in March, I'm going to put on my ABUs and do counter-recruitment. I'm going to say something like, well, you may as well put a bullseye on your chest if you're going to do this, because a target is all you'll be out there in Iraq and Afghanistan." Unquote. Now, I personally don't think the war is wrong because it's dangerous. It's wrong because the U.S. is doing what the Soviets did, occupying a foreign country for a decade without the consent of its people. Speaking of war, Free Staters have put together their first zombie movie, I think. Actually, it's their first movie, period. And it's not bad for an initial effort. Actually, this is just the trailer, though I have no idea when the whole thing is supposed to appear. But you can find out more at thinktwicenews.com. I've always thought the whole Free State concept of moving to New Hampshire and all that is a real-life fleeing the infected. But that's a different zombie movie. mail-do-jail.com, something that rhymes with com. Do you want to support a jailed New Hampshire liberty activist? Without even leaving your computer? Without even spending a dime? Send them mail in jail from your computer. It's easy and free. For details, visit mail-do-jail.com, something that rhymes with com.
Freedom is pretty.